going to do a quick tutorial on how to use the grid method. What you're going to need today is pencil, nice and sharp one, a ruler, a rubber, a ruler, some masking tape if you have it, or some sellotape, sharpener, and a strip of paper. I would say that is about 21 centimeters long, and it has to be a very straight line, okay, because we're going to use this to make our viewfinder. First thing we're going to do with this strip of paper, you're going to fold it in half evenly, score it, folding it in half again, evenly, score it, and then you're going to tear this so that you will have 4 equal parts. Okay, so moving on. Here are my 4 equal parts, and what I've done is I've laid them out around the square, one of the squares, and I've taped them together at each corner in order to make myself a viewfinder. Okay, you might need a little bit of help with that, so maybe you could ask mum or dad or somebody else that's a little bit older. They can hold the pieces down to help you. If you are not able to make a viewfinder, it's not particularly necessary. You can just do this piece of artwork without it. Okay, so make sure your pencils are nice and sharp, and we're going to start off with drawing the outline of the face before we add any of the tones. So I'm holding my pencil at tone 3, as you can see, so right in the middle. I'm looking in my viewfinder to see how big this gap is, this white gap is, okay, to the side of the face, and what that sort of line, what sort of shape we've got here. So I would say, I mean, if you want to use a ruler, you can, to measure it, if you want to be really accurate, but if you can just estimate by looking, you can see it's just a little bit, probably about ½ centimeter, if that. I'm going to make a little mark here, still holding my pencil for tone 3, and I'm going to do a lovely curve that curves out, then in, and then out very slightly as it hits the bottom of that square. So again, starting from the edge, moving in, and a very gentle curve that stops about here. All right. So now we're going to look at the eyebrow. I want to know where the eyebrow starts next to the line and how thick it is. So I'm just going to double check that. I would say that's about maybe 1 centimeter, maybe a bit more. So I'm going to start off at this corner here, move down a bit, make a little mark. I would say the eyebrow's probably another centimeter thick. So I'm going to go from here, where I put my last dot, and move down a bit more. And I'm going to draw the top line. So it comes up, still holding my pencil at tone 3, and it curves down like so. So it's a bit like a tick, really, sort of tick shape. Up and then down, like so. And if you notice this shape, it starts off thick and it gets thinner as it moves to the edge of the face, okay? So I'm starting where I drew my last one, and you can see that it's getting thinner, but it's mirroring the shape of the line that I drew on top, okay? So moving on to the eye, I'm going to press this down a little bit. You can see the distance between the eyebrow and the eye is very small. I would say that's about ½ centimeter. Okay, so I'm going to start from where I last, from the bottom of the eyebrow, move down about ½ centimeter, make a little mark, and I'm going to draw a curved line. And it doesn't, if you notice, it doesn't stop at the edge of the face. It stops maybe ½ centimeter away from the edge of the face. Now I want to get in this black shape here, which shows the detail of the eyes. So I'm just going to start off with the top curve here. So moving down a little bit from the crease of the eye, going round, curving it so that it hits the bottom of that square like so. Now this shape, it's quite thick, so I want to draw in this shape here as well, which shows you a little bit of the eye and the iris. So moving down a couple of centimeters, moving round, And it's a sort of almost like a triangular shape that we're creating here. And we go up again, and then it's another little triangle like so. So you can see that the shapes that we see here are starting to take shape here. All right. Last little bit to do is the iris, not the iris, the pupil, the little black bit in the middle of the eye. And that takes up all of this corner here, like so. So if we were to take away the viewfinder, you'll be able to see that we've drawn the shape of the eye and the eyebrow in this shape here. Okay, if there's anything that you want to double check, maybe you want to measure with your ruler to see, oh, have I got, if I got that spacing right, have I got this spacing right, is that the correct length away from here? You can do that before you start adding the tone. This is really important because once you've added the tone, it's very difficult to erase that. So now I'm happy with this square. I'm going to move on to the next square. So I'm moving my viewfinder along like so. And I'm starting from that mark that I did for the last eyebrow. It's always good because that way your drawing will line up. I'm looking at how far out that eyebrow comes. Okay, so it probably comes about, I'd say 2 centimeters away from that edge. Still holding my pencil for tone 3. Drawing that shape in. So it's a bit of a straight line with a little kink up at the ends. Drawing the second bit. Notice how it comes out a little bit further and it curves up like so. Okay. Now we're going to continue with the eye. So the eye, we curve it down until we meet, and it comes just past the middle of that square. Can you see? It's just past the middle. And I'm going to continue. Oops. Stopping here again. I'm going to draw in the rest of that pupil and then finish off the iris as well. So you can see it comes round like this, and then you have a thicker part like this as well. Yeah, so remember, we're continuing on from the lines that we drew in the last box, so it makes one complete shape. Again, when you're happy with that, you've double checked it, you can peel up your viewfinder and you can move it to the next square, like so. Oh, got a little bit that's covering over the eye there. Right, so the last square on this top row now. So again, we're looking at how far down this shape starts. The eyebrow starts here. So I'm making sure I'm working on the same section. Move it aside, just on that page there. I would say that is about 1 centimetre, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to estimate it about here. And I'm going to draw, still at tone 3, a shape that's sort of a straight line and it curves a little bit round like so. Double checking the thickness. Say it's about half a centimetre thick. And again, I'm mirroring that shape that I've drawn above to complete the shape of the eyebrow, like so. Looking at where the eye starts, the eyelid starts, I'd say that's about half a centimetre down. And at the bottom of the line, I would say, if you imagine that this is the middle, I would say it is just before the middle. Sorry, just after the middle of that shape of the square. And I'm going to draw that lovely curve like so. And I'm looking at the shape underneath it, another curve. If you look closely, we've got a tiny little triangle here. So we're going to draw that in. So remember to leave a little gap, drawing that tiny little triangle of light. Looking at this section here, I can see a little curved triangle. It looks like a little horn. So I'm just going to draw that in like so. So you're going to continue until row by row, until you finish the outline of the entire drawing. So then you're going to move down to this section and you're going to continue. Okay, but I'm not going to continue with that today. What I'm going to show you is how to add tones. So we're going to take away that viewfinder. We're going to place it to one side. And we're going to look at this section of the picture as a whole. Okay, so remember, we need to double check which tones that we can see first. Always start off with your pencil held at the correct tone. So I'm going to remind you, tone 1 is right at the end here. Tone 2, a little bit further up. Tone 3 in the middle, that's a medium tone. Tone 4, we're getting a little bit darker. And tone 5 is going to be our darkest tone. Okay, so give my pencil a little bit of a sharpen. I didn't break it there. And I think I'm going to start off with the darkest areas of tone I can see. So in this shape here, I can see that is definitely a tone 5 and around the side of the eye. So I'm holding my pencil at tone 5 and I'm adding that in. Now notice I'm leaving a little gap before the edge because as you can see here, it's a smooth blend. It goes from tone 5 to tone 4 here. Okay, so I want to leave a little bit of a gap so that I can blend that to tone 4. So I'm still holding my pencil for tone 5. Notice how I'm shading in one direction and my lines are curving with the shape that I'm adding tone to. Into here, still leaving a little gap. Then I'm moving to tone 4 and completing this area here. So you can see that it's not such a harsh line. It's quite fluffy around the edge. Okay, so that's the top of the eye. The pupil is definitely a tone 5. So we're going to hold our pencil at tone 5, add in that tone there like so, nice and neatly. I would say the crease up here is a tone 5. So again, holding my pencil for tone 5, I'm adding that in like so. Now here, it starts to get a little bit lighter. So I'm moving my fingers along the pencil to make it into a tone 4. So you can see that is slightly lighter. Notice how I'm still following the curve of that eyelid. Because we don't want it to look messy, we want it to look nice and neat and tidy, and we want that tone, the blending, to be nice and smooth. Up here, we've got a little bit more of a darker tone. So I'm going to blend it up a little bit more using my tone 4, so we get that tone in there. Okay. Now we're going to start on the eyebrow. It's a tone 5. So again, notice the direction of how I'm shading. I'm following the direction of the eyebrow. If you imagine that you can see every individual hair, you want it to look like they're all kind of going in the same direction, like so. And then underneath the eyebrow here, we've got a lighter bit of tone. I would say that's about a tone 3, and then it blends out to a tone 4. So holding my pencil in the middle, doing my tone 3 in that section. And at the edge here, you can see it's getting a little bit darker. Watch how I am adding that tone, how I'm curving those marks. You can always neaten it at the end. I'm gently adding that tone. To complete that section, all of my mark making is going in the same direction. Okay. Inside the eye here, we've got a tone 2. So I'm going to move to tone 2. Oops, fill that in. Got enough of tone 2 there. Need to get the rest of the eyebrow. So now the edge, I'm going to hold it at tone 5 to make it a little bit darker, because you can see how that edge is quite dark, isn't it? So making that a little bit darker around the edge here. And then we're holding it for tone 4 for a little bit. Where you can see the tone 4. And then we're blending that out to tone 3. Again, following the curve of that face to tone 2. So we're getting really light now to tone 1. So I'm holding it right to the end now. Okay. So now we've completed this section, we can move on to the next one. And again, you're looking for those tones. You're making sure you're holding your pencil in the correct areas, and you're shading in one direction. These are things that are really important, and that's what I've written down here on your top tips. Okay, so good luck, everybody. Again, watch this video if you do need any help, and you can follow along. But I want the entire face copied into this section here as neatly as you can. Happy drawing!